Joining us in studio right now. I just saw her on TV, the TV that was right behind her. Jody Jackson is here. Jody, how did you do that?
Yeah, it's the power of, driving up here pretty quickly. But
apparently.
I'll tell you, I think Tori just, Mad Dog, he's got the thing going with Mad Dog, right? And I think he just offered him a job in Arizona since he was retiring, allegedly. But I don't know if the guys would embrace. I think he offered him my job, maybe.
Sounded like it.
No.
But I don't know if the guys would embrace him in the clubhouse after what's gone on.
I don't think so.
Mad Dog's not allowed in the pool. I can tell you
right.
that if they win the World
Exactly.
Series.
No, I don't think that's going to fly, Jody.
God, what a morning, you guys. What a night. What a morning. It's so amazing. It's so great. I'm so happy for them. The picture of those guys all there at Citizens Bank Park, what they did going in there and not only not getting their you-know-what kicked, but just shutting the Phillies down. It's truly unbelievable. We should be so proud of this team.
Yes.
And I got to go big picture for 1 minute because it goes back to Ken Kendrick and Derek Hall and the organization hiring Tori and Mike back in 2016. And then, yes, it's been, and we all know the journey. It was awesome the first year with the wild card. But, they only won one game there. And what's funny is I heard some callers earlier this morning talking about, they really didn't. They were kids watching the World Series, and then they really didn't have anything to latch onto. And it makes you realize that you got to go on a run, and this run has been unbelievable, and they've won so many road games, and it's the attrition, and it's hanging in there and sticking in there and being the underdog, and so. I mean, for me, 2017 was awesome, but it was one game. And so now, the Valley has just latched on to this team and the guys and every single guy that's contributed. And it's great to see it come together. And I think it goes back to 2016. That's where it started. And then they had the dark times and the hard times. And they've all hung in there and persevered to get to this point. I just can't help being a little nostalgic to like the roots of it.
Yeah.
And drafting, the farm system, everything coming together, and then making moves in September, as recent as September, to make this bullpen what it is. It's awesome to see.
See, for me, Jody, honestly, right now, as a former professional athlete, it's the collective toughness of this team that stands out to me that I love so much and I respect so much because I know how difficult it is to be that. I don't care if it's baseball, hockey, football, basketball, whatever it may be. The collective toughness of this team is what I cherish. They had to win 4 or 5, and that's what they did. They won 4 or 5. They had to win 2 at Citizens Bank Park. Think about that for a minute. And they did it not once, but twice. It's just incredible. The resiliency is what I love.
And I think that speaks to, it's physical because I'm sure, again, they're tired and all of this and the run that you go on, it's a lot about coming every day with your best, and they're obviously doing that. But I think every team's doing that, right? You get to this point, and I'm sure the Phillies were doing that. And that's the thing. The Diamondbacks won that series. The Phillies didn't falter. Yeah. They're still a Philly. Point. It's still Bryce Harper. It's still Nick Castellanos. And Nick Castellanos came in hot. And they shut him down.
They shut him down.
Trey Turner, Bryce Harper, what Kevin Ginkel did last night. And it speaks to the toughness. In baseball, we all know it's very mental. Yeah. Getting through the 162 to get to this point.
And that's where toughness comes from, inside.
It does, because there's hard days in there. That's where the coaches and the support system and the trainers and the analysts and everybody, you go top to bottom, and they help these guys get through the 162 to get here. So they had to get in, right? And the Rangers got in on the last day, and the D-backs got in on the second to last day. And then once you get in, it's how do you maximize everyone on your roster? How do you turn it on? And look, and it has been a little bit of everyone. The turning point really, Corbin had a great game last night, which was wonderful to see. It was very fitting. He got the last out. I think we all saw the symbolism there.
Absolutely.
And because they're not here,
they're
not here without him. I truly believe that, even as one person, and I'm talking about a team game. But yeah, Game 6, the turning point had to be Pham and Gurriel Jr. Mm-hmm. and then Longoria with the RBI there. That to me turned this thing because you had to come out. The fact that they made that happen, that changed everything. And so there's moments, it's truly everyone, but then there's some moments that stand out, and that was one of them.
I know we've talked about this, to a certain extent in the past, but I think it needs to be highlighted today. 2 seasons ago, they're winning their last 2 games of the season just to get to 52 wins, Jody. And I was out there a lot that season, but not nearly as much as you. And the only memorable moment, that, in a good way, was Tyler Gilbert's no-hitter out of nowhere in the middle of August.
Yeah, it was a gem there in the middle of the stink,
in fact,
I guess you could say.
I think it was Tommy Pham that almost broke that up a couple times. But either way, that was not that long ago. And the patience that they showed, and you kind of alluded to this, but the patience to stick with not just Torrey, but an overarching plan that they had, that doesn't always pay off. And I would say even more, people just abandon the plan and they start over and they start over again the next year and they just keep starting over and you never get anywhere. That to me is one of the biggest things that they have done is to actually stick with a plan and believe in what they were doing and be decisive about it.
Yeah, and I think, again, those hires were made in 16 because these are smart baseball people. Mike, Amiel, Mike Fitzgerald, Torrey, and then they added, of course, to Torrey's staff. And I think, again, you can't underestimate adding Jeff Bannister, Brent Strom. Dan Carlson's been there a really long time with the pitching. Mike Fetter's been there a long time. But it starts with hiring smart baseball people. And they didn't get any dumber. They didn't lose that intelligence or work ethic. It's the intelligence and then added with the drive, determination, and work ethic. And you guys know Mike Hazen.
The freaky Mike Hazen.
The freaky Mike Hazen. I know you wrote a song about him, didn't you?
I did, as a matter of fact.
I know. You might want to break out that song. We got to build to this. We got a few days before the first game, too, so you got a lot.
That.
There's plenty you can do, Wolf, to build this thing.
Yeah, you should write a song for each game of the World Series.
I mean, just think how good you've got to be as a general manager if you're a freaky with your moves. You know what I mean? Like, you make moves that are so good, it's freaky.
Well, he's made two trades in the last year, but 11 months that are 2 of the best trades in Diamondbacks history for Seawald.
Is that it?
Jody. This is for you.
I don't remember it being like a dance party.
Well,
always. This is the
Freaky Mike Hazen is Temple be leaking. Signing Madison, the nation is freaking. Mike got thoughts big as head in the league. Making moves while GM's looking at Puig. Hazen is brazen, not afraid of his shadow. Wheeling and dealing. Sometimes he's stealing. The D-backs GM, coveted by some. The Red Sox are angry. Not with Mad Bum. Not with Mad Bum.
Okay,
we got to update the lyrics.
Yeah, you're going to have to remix this for the World Series.
It's all right.
I do need to cut that, man.
Yeah, I mean,
but I like it. The freaky Mike Hazen, Temple be leaking.
No, you can keep some of the words. You just need to change some of the names.
That was my favorite. Can I just tell you, Luke, that was my favorite right there. The freaky Mike Hazen, Temple be leaking.
Reached the point of the show where Wolf, from a few years ago, impresses Wolf.
Freaky Mike Hazen, wheeling and dealing. Acquired Josh Rojas. Astros were squealing. Rojas is killing, raking and taking. Got a sniff of the bigs. Smells like bacon.
Okay,
hey, Josh Rojas turned into Paul Seawald. Okay, so
I'm gonna have to do that.
Stuff
there. Let's go with the.
Yeah.
Boom, boom.
I mean, and yeah,
we'll
there's a lot, but it just goes back to this group staying together. They didn't get dumber. They did lose 110 games, but I'm telling you what, a lot of people don't realize what I remember from that year is that the pitching was, they didn't have any of their pitchers. They were all injured.
Yeah.
And they were all, the guys that came in were ineffective. And then it spiraled downward. And I think that's what made Torrey upset because you're the manager. You're not supposed to let it spiral downward, but it was really hard. There was nothing to latch onto. To come out of the abyss, you have to be able to latch onto something. And they did that this year when they lost 9 in a row. They came out of it because they had guys and they had the mental fortitude, and and they couldn't do that then. But to see the turnaround is truly incredible. And yes, credit to Ken and Derek for sticking with them, but they also knew deep down, they knew that there were some other factors that were out of those guys' control. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that happens. And yeah, they believed it's the same reasoning when they hired them. They just, this is like what we're going to stick with and we're going to build this. And we all thought, again, the narrative this year was it's going to be next year. They're going to be kind of a fun team to watch, might make the playoffs.
Yeah.
And let's face it, even I going through the season with them, it was about getting to the playoffs. And that's why, I think there's an element of surprise just in that they've been able to knife through these teams.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not that I didn't believe in them. It's just that for so long it was like, hey, we just got to get in. We just got to get in and then see what happens. So, and here they are, you know, here they are in the World Series. And I love it. So that was Meek Mill, right? How cold is that? Is that cold, Maloney, doing that to them?
It
Philly
is.
guy getting it, you know, I mean, and Alec, did you guys see Alec Thomas putting the flag in the ground? National League champions at Citizens Bank
It's
Park.
incredible right there, man. Honestly, Alec Thomas, you talk about a young guy that could really benefit from what he's experienced and what I think will definitely mean for him as a young athlete that is trying to make his way going into next year. Oh, my goodness. Sky's the limit.
They don't win the series without that home run in Game 4. Well, all these games are blurring together, but that home run he put.
I mean, there's some unbelievable moments, you know, I mean, in the series that we're all going to remember.
Yes.
I mean, the 3 games at home where the crowd came out, but yeah, the first one being 2-1 with the Cattell walk-off, and then Alec's big moment in did I say Game 1? You know what I mean, 3, 4, 5. 3 and 4 were amazing, and now the World Series. I mean, I can't wait to see. You know, I know the focus shifts to Texas now. I know, but I cannot wait to see the crowd here at Chase Field for these 3 games coming up. The World Series is back in the Valley.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Man.
It's so crazy.
Man,
I'm trying to think of other.
2 teams left standing. Gosh, would we have known this back in February? They start in February, you guys. Think about that.
Yeah.
I think these 2 teams. I know Texas was 22-1, and just in terms of odds at the start of the playoffs.
Oh, the odds were insane. I heard a lot of people.
I think they were the 2 longest shots at the start of the playoffs.
I found out how many of the people I know are really big gamblers, actually, because everyone was. I mean, you know, I didn't really even look at all that. I mean, I knew they were underdogs. Again, it was a fashionable team to be like, oh, they might surprise, they might make the playoffs, but here they are.
Yeah, you know what? Before the season started, we were all excited about it, right? Because of only. This is going to be a different team to watch. You know, watching these young guys,
Seeing
right?
Corbin for a whole season.
The athleticism. It was going to be a different brand of baseball, we thought. And it was going to be exciting because we had a mix of veterans, but we had these young guys.
With the new rules.
With the new rules, exactly
I
right.
remember being out at Salt River being like, we don't totally know the ceiling of this team.
Right.
And we still don't know it.
And what's interesting about it, with all of that positivity, and you know me, Jode, I'm a positive guy, right? That's what I am. I'm an optimist by nature. But having said that, looking at it, I was really excited just to watch the growth of these young guys, never expecting they were going to the World Series. Oh, my gosh.
You know what I'll say, though, about the new rules and the chaos, and we love it, and that's embrace the chaos. And we did see it. We did see it surface in Game 6 and 7 in Philly, but I'll tell you what, I mean, that doesn't always play in the postseason. And so the fact that they were able to win 3 series without, you know, because again, in the postseason, base runners and chaos is harder to come by. You're facing tougher pitching, especially early in games. You're facing
Better
aces.
teams.
You know, Craig Kimbrell, they got him. They got Craig Kimbrell, and that also changed this series. So there was a couple turning points, right? And they were able to create some chaos in the later innings. But when you're facing a guy like Zach Wheeler, and everyone, it kind of was a little bit frustrating for me to hear fans, and I'm like, you know, it's not going to show up against everybody's ace, or maybe even against a Ranger Suarez, or, you know, but the fact that they were able to blend the chaos with just some timely hits and some homers and some moments at the plate that were smart and getting enough runs, that's what the postseason is about. But the fact, make no mistake, this D-backs team right now, the postseason formula, it's got to start with pitching. And they are doing it. They are pitching. They are out pitching the other team.
Field their position.
And then you get enough runs to get by. That's what the postseason is about. You're not gonna necessarily pile up runs in the postseason.
Yeah, they're almost, and like I said, we're gonna talk to Mike Hazen a little bit. I'm sure we'll bring this up.
The freaky Mike Hazen.
Yes, the freaky Mike Hazen. Maybe Wolf will sing to him. It's not that they were built unintentionally to be good in the playoffs, but to be this good this quickly, Jody, they seem like a team when you look around these playoffs. It's like, well, they are top heavy in the rotation. That's good for the postseason. They can win games different ways. They started winning games by the long ball in these playoffs. Like, oh, we have to do it that way. Okay, we'll do it. Or the last couple games, they went back to winning like the Diamondbacks with 8 stolen bases. The bullpen's been amazing. I mean, you look at
It's the mash and dash.
The mash and dash
The
finally
mash
worked.
and
The mash and
dash.
dash.
Yes, the mash.
I like that.
That's right. The monster. Look, it's Frankenstein, everybody.
If you strip the name of the team away and you just listed the characteristics, I think more people nationally would think, oh, yeah, this team should be doing this. If you just look at how they are built now.
Something came up last night. People were giving some props to Dave McKay. I mean, all these guys deserve so much credit. I
Love Dave.
Dave McKay has been doing it for such a long time, and he was prophetic earlier in the season. Evan Longoria told me, I was just standing at the locker talking to him one day in late September about how McKay brought up the 06 Cardinal team that only won 83 or 84 games, and how it was about just sticking through the tough times. And I was looking at the makeup of that team. Yadier Molina was like 23, and Adam Wainwright was 24. And so, and a lot of the guys, all of the other names were not household names, but it just shows you, and that was something that he expressed to the team. It's the wisdom of a guy like Dave McKay. And there's a lot of people providing these young guys with wisdom, but they're not overloading them either. They're picking their spots. They're keeping it simple, letting them have fun. I also loved, so you get deep moments like that where they talk and have a meeting and things were not going well, and then Dave McKay brings that up, and it just puts in your mind we could win the World Series, because again, that 06 team, they won the World Series. They beat Detroit. They beat the Mets in a 7-game series, and I love that was planted back then. We weren't thinking about that, but they were thinking about it. And then fast forward to Philadelphia, where you hear the guys in the clubhouse before these games were just doing their normal thing.
Yeah.
Doing their normal thing, hanging out. And you could just see it, right? We weren't in there, cameras weren't in there, but you could just see Alec and Corbin and Perdomo. You could just see them kind of hanging out, listening to music, having a snack. And yet they're able to do all of these things under pressure. You got to love that. For what's coming in the future, right? What's going to be too big for them? What's going to be too hard for them?
I'm not even sure Moreno realizes that if they had lost either of the last 2 games, their season was over. He's just like, I'll just go out there and win then. Jody, this was awesome, and we're going to talk to you again a lot more here in the next week and a half.
So much fun to be here talking
Jody.
World Series, Diamondbacks.
World Series. Let that sink in.